Toby McKinnon joins me. Hello, Toby. You're talking, Oz.
Hello,
Giving
Paul.
you the quick rundown.
The light's facing you and not me.
Well, it possibly is, but that's okay. We can fix that very
I
quickly.
think I'm in the spotlight here tonight.
You might be. Toby McKinnon joins me. Hello, Tobes.
How are you, mate? You've just gone live. It's just told me on my phone.
I have indeed, and I had everything organised except for one thing. You just talk for 1 sec. It's all good,
Right.
but it's not a hassle. Tell everyone what we're doing.
Welcome. We're going to be talking about the new handicapping system. So it's been a process over the last 2 years before I even started at Harness Racing Australia last July, of looking at the handicapping system. It started with a group of people called the Ratings Review Team at our AGM, at the Harness Racing Australia AGM halfway through the year in July up in Queensland. It was decided that there'd be a handicapping ratings review committee, an official committee formed. It's been made up of 6 different individuals from each state and 2 representatives of the clubs that form Harness Racing Australia. So that group's come together. There's been a lot of work and a lot of data put into their hands, and also the road shows that I went on that many people would have seen. All that information's been filtered back to those and to that group, and there's been some decisions made, Paul, that will come into effect on the 1st of January 2026. So we're nearly there. It's nearly, by the time we finish tonight and work through everyone's questions, it'll be next month.
It will be, and depending on the show. One thing I ask, fire questions in. We've got 12 people watching on YouTube. We've got half a dozen watching on Twitter. There's 8 watching on Facebook. We want comments. We want to understand. We want people to ask questions. That's what this platform is about.
100%.
It is interactive. Please be respectful. Please be aware this is a harness racing initiative, so please be respectful for not just Toby and myself, but everyone in the industry. So if you've got a question to ask, don't also clog the feed up if you don't get your answer. Maybe get in touch with Toby. Outside of it as well. So
we'll get to the questions.
People know how it works on any of the platforms. If you're watching, fire the questions in, and it'll go from there. Twitter one, I'm not sure on. I'll keep checking the Twitter feed and refreshing it, and go from there. Well, I've had a few from time to time, but I get to them late in the season, and generally my shows are a little bit ad lib. Just for the record, that is the one thing that I forgot to bring to the table, but we've got everything else. Right, Tobes. This comes into effect January 1.
January 1.
And has been accepted by all states before we go too far.
So the committee's made up of representatives from every state.
Yep.
They've made that group, the HRRC, Handicapping Ratings Review Committee. I'm not going to say it too many times.
No.
It's a tongue twister. They're formed up of the 6 state reps, and there's 2 representatives of the clubs, which are Albion Park, Menangle, Melton, Hobart, and Gloucester Park. So there's 2 representatives on that committee from the clubs as well, just to provide a different angle, because they speak to different people as well. So that group of 8 have made a recommendation to the HRA board effectively, and the board has accepted the recommendation. So these changes are coming in. I went through a consultation process when I did the ratings review roadshows, which I went through Queensland, Tasmania, Victoria and New South Wales. There was recommended changes at that point. There was a lot of feedback during that, which we'll get into this in a minute, and that's all been taken into account as well. So I think generally, Paul, with something like this, whenever there's change, not every person and not every horse is going to benefit from it, right? It's a little bit of an 80%, 20% rule. I think every person needs to sit back and say, okay, so 80% of my horses are going to be benefited from this, 20% probably won't. But if people only view it from the 20% that aren't going to be, might not be benefited. I shouldn't say that they're not going to be benefited. They might not be. Then, they're not going to be happy with it. But that's with everything in life.
But that's also the way any restructure does work.
Correct.
The classic one is Alpha Male. I remember the amount of people blowing up because Alpha Male come back as a 50 rater when the first instalment of the came into, because at the time he was a maiden because he hadn't raced.
Since a 2 and 3 year old.
Outside, well, I think only a 2-year-old even at this stage. I think he'd missed his 3-year-old career maybe. So there was a lot of 2s and 3s. Okay, we'll get it started. Now, we will always be here, Toby and I, so please fire the questions in. We can see the questions outside of it, so don't panic. If there is questions you want to ask, please fire them in, but I'll let you get started, Tobes.
Right, so the handicapping system, and any handicapping system, there's some key objectives that we want. And this was really developed through mid-2010s when there was a big review of what the handicapping system was. And the number one thing we want is competitive wagering product. And that's reduced odds on favourites, maximised field sizes, and increasing favourites' average starting price. And I think people would understand pretty well that whatever's bet on our sport is effectively what ends up being distributed back to participants. So the more we can get people betting on the sport, the better. Now, nearly everyone in administration will tell you that the best price for a favourite in a race is about $1.80 to $2.50. We want favourites at about that $1.80 to $2.50. Anything too short, if a horse is $1.10, and a lot of people in the ratings roadshows would have heard some of this stuff, but if a horse is $1.10, someone in the pub's not going to have $10 on that horse to win $1.
Yep.
Right? But then they look at the race and they're not keen to back another horse in the race because they figure that horse can't win the race. So then they don't bet.
So the perception is don't bet in this race.
Don't bet in that race, right? So as soon as a horse is too short in a race, we're losing a lot of turnover.
Yep.
And that effectively reduces stake money, etc. So anything we want from a handicapping system, whatever handicapping system is anywhere in the world, basically, we want to increase create a more competitive wagering product. Greater utilisation of foal crop is very important. So that's effectively how many foals do we get to the races to get to win races out of a crop? Ideally, 100%. It's never going to be 100%.
No.
Because not even 100% make it to the age of 2. Only about 80% of horses out of a crop make it to 2 years of age even. So you're never going to get 100%. We'll go into some more detail on this as we progress through the slides I've prepared. We want horses to have longer careers. We want to increase returns to owners. We don't want horses reaching their mark. Horses used to get to a C3, get to a C4, and they were done. And they might have been a beautiful horse with nothing wrong with them. So we don't want horses to reach their mark as such. We want more horses racing. We want a greater spread of prize money across more people in the industry and a real-time handicapping system. So horses are racing like for like horses. And that's, and I describe myself coming through football, Paul. I played under-18s footy, played senior footy, and then as I got a bit older, I dropped back to the reserves and played a year or so in the reserves, and I ended up playing a brilliant game. And if Paddy Lee wants to send a message in, he'll confirm, for Terang very late in my life, Paul.
Yep.
Which wasn't that brilliant, but anyway.
So with like utilising foal crop and that is an absolute given, because in my world where I work, numbers have dropped. We'll have New Zealand people watching.
Yep.
Numbers in New Zealand, I won't say critical, but they're getting to that stage of what they are breeding. And for an export country, it is ridiculous. Here in Australia, we're not far behind. So that is one area that we need to be able to go on to. I'm not going to tackle you about breeding or anything along those lines because this is about the new handicapping, but to be able to utilise the foals and make sure we maximise each foal that's on the ground and getting them to the racetrack.
And I'll get into the utilisation of foal crop, but it has increased significantly since the ratings have come in, and there's a whole slide on that, so I'll go into that in more detail when I get to it. So that's what we want from a handicapping system. I've just got a little slide on each one of these. So since the introduction of the national rating system, this is $1.30 or favourites or less. So down the bottom, it'll be hard to see, I expect, on people's.
You can use your mouse.
People's
the
screens.
mouse is probably because it's white.
So $2.17. Whoops. Let's just go back one. Sorry, Paul.
Right.
In 2017 and 2018, about basically 10 to 11% of races had $1.30 or less favourite. So if there was a 10-race meeting, one race had $1.30 or less favourite. And these are the races where we have a drop in turnover. You can see since the green lines when the ratings came in, the amount of $1.30 or less favourites has significantly reduced down to 6.68% from 10%. So that is one of the key objectives that we want from any handicapping system, is to create a more competitive wagering product. And clearly, if there's less $1.30 or less favourites, there's more competitive racing. Now, that percentage of 6.68%, this year in particular, I don't have this year's data, of course, because the year hasn't finished, we've seen an increase in 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds racing against open age horses and starting $1.30 or less. In September alone, 45% of $1.50 or less favourites were 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds racing older horses. So there's been a bit of a swing around in how things work. We've often got 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds racing very short price favourites.
We'll get to Jamie's comments in a minute. Perhaps, Jamie, if you like, we'll get to those towards the end.
We can. I think we'll just tick them off as we go, can we?
Well, you can. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, claiming races are always good for older horses, longer racing careers. Just think it needs to be tinkered with. Jamie, yeah, claiming races were very good, and they kept trying claiming races for some time after the rating system came in. But effectively, because the rating system is live, it's a live handicap as the horse's career develops, where with a class system, you only really progressed forwards. I know there was the drop back eventually of 10 starts. So you ended up, when you declined, when you got into your 30s and you weren't playing footy as good as you were in your 20s, or your sport wasn't as good, when you went into that decline when the horse goes into decline, they had to claim them. They had to find a way to get them back. Where this system allows horses to slowly drop back to where they are competitive again. And everyone would have seen a number of horses across the last 4 or 5 or since 2019 that have dropped a long way back and end up getting back to a competitive level.
But weren't claiming races also good betting races? And they were.
I don't know. Can't comment.
And that's one of the things I think where a few people have said where they miss those sort of races where it's not always horse like for like. It's actually, I value my horse at $10,000. Someone might say it's a $20,000 horse, I'm going to buy it. Other people might say he's dreaming, it should be a $5,000 race. So people were able to self-handicap themselves that little bit.
It's the self-handicapping works well, yes, if people are prepared to do it. But how many people want to sell their horse or put it in a claimer? It's not the tradition, the culture of racing here people don't seem to be too open to putting their horses in.
Because a lot of people want it, I know that. So, but yeah. You go next slide, did you?
Next slide, yep.
Sorry.
Competitive wagering product. Key driver in competitive wagering is field size. Like, obviously, there's a big change in turnover when it goes to 8 because of the each way betting. But pre the ratings coming in, it was sitting up at 9.05, and these aren't big changes, but they're still important. You can see 8.9 as after the ratings came in, the average field size did decline, but it's just jumped back up the last couple of years. Some key drivers within states, and there's some real variable circumstances that have happened within one particular state has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. They're running less races and bigger fields.
Yeah, so will that be Victoria, I would imagine, being that, and that's what I was going to say. That's an interesting stat, but that was, I suppose we're told the more we raced, the better we were, and the more races we had, but that actually wasn't the truth, and that decline, if you like, in that probably shows that because it has gone back up.
For this to be an ultimate success, you would have that at 12.
Yep.
The average field size at 12 would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
There'd be more turnover, etc., more value in races, more return to owners, but it's not going to happen, right?
Yep.
It's just never going to happen. You'll have APG heats where there might only be 6 horses, but you still run the race, etc., etc. So it's never going to get to 12, but the higher that is, we just know from data, the more horses in a race, the more turnover there is. So that hasn't been a huge success with the rating system, but it's been on the incline over the last couple of years. Average starting price of favourites. Again, this one's closely linked to the $1.30 or less favourites, but the average starting price of a favourite in a race in 2017 pre-ratings coming in was $2.36, and that's up to $2.47. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a big change, big improvement, and this is getting horses racing like for like. And you go back to 2017, 2018. The C1s, how many C1s there was in our system. We had really good C1s, we had average C1s, and then we had the C1 that had won a maiden and was probably never going to win another race, right? And that horse never could win another race. You had 3-year-olds that had won 2 or 3 in a row, then coming through against CO, C1, C2, and they would start very short price as well. So as that's gone, and we've broken the C1 category, which was so big, as broken up and filtered down, if that makes sense, down to the 30s and 40 rated horses and T1s. I shouldn't put the trotters out, but So as that's happened, we've been able to break that group of horses, that big group of horses, up into more even races. And there's a lot of them under there, and we'll get into that in a bit more detail now. There's a lot more from the 50 or below than what was ever expected and what was planned, and that's one of the main reasons why we are trying to change this. But that's one of the reasons why this would have improved, because we're getting a lot more even fields, particularly in that bottom bracket of horses. The next one looks like a head case, doesn't it? There's a lot going on here. But crop utilisation is so important, and there's a lot of detail in this. So if we go back to the very first line on the left-hand side,
use the cursor, not your
in
finger,
blue,
it'll work better.
Yeah, well, the cursor doesn't come up any. Oh, yes, it does come up.
It does come up, yeah.
It comes up. So if we go back here to 2001-2, of every horse born in 2001-2, 49% made the races. It's basically 50%, right? And you'll see throughout the 2000s, 02, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, you can see it's sitting at about 50%. And this was for a long time. Half our horses made the races. It starts climbing through the 12, 13s, 13, 14s. That's the year the horses were born. That's the year they were born here. So some of these horses got to utilise the rating system when it came in 2019. So from 50% making the races, at the end of last season, the 2017-18 crop was 6-year-olds, and 60% had made the races. It's a great improvement. The orange line here is 3-year-olds making the races, and I only had data starting from 10-11, and it was sitting at 39%, 41-41.
So they still made the races, but not as a 3-year-old. Some of those horses would have still made the races after that.
Correct. The gap there, that gap there, made the races as 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. Not many 10-year-olds would have had their first start. But 39% of horses made the races by the end of their 3-year-old career. Once the rating system came in, you can see the change straight up to 51%. And last year's crop that finished the season at the end of their 3-year-old season, 54% of those horses made the races. So now we've got more horses making the races by the end of their 3-year-old season than we did at their whole career back here. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this.
I was going to say, one of those will be the change of racing calendar. They got an extra 6 months.
Change of racing calendar. I knew there'd be one clown image during it, right? The change of racing season comes in about here, 2 years.
Sorry, hang on.
Sorry, yeah, Paul. It comes in here 2 years after you see that strong incline. But yes, I guarantee the change of the racing calendar helped.
Yep.
But it only really effectively changes 2-year-olds. That's a whole nother head spin for you. Better stallions, better mares. We are breeding our big stallions. We're breeding as many horses to our big stallions as we ever have.
Yep.
The stallions we're not utilising so much anymore are the poor old late Brewsters, who wasn't a bad horse. He won 4 at Moonee Valley. He served 5 mares. That stallion still exists, but nowhere near as many. So we're breeding better stallions and better mares. And through the rating system, people have got more opportunity to get their horse to the race. Back in 2001-2, right back here in 01-02, if you had a horse and you thought it might win a race, that was it. That was your own. That horse isn't going to provide much return. Now, today, if your horse might win a race, there's actual potential that horse might be good enough then to win 6, 7, 8 races, because if it gets back to the level where it's competitive, a 40 or a 45, it can win multiple races. So that might win a horse. That horse that might win a race now, I think people persist with a little bit longer and have more of a go at getting to the races. So this is really important. So
could I play devil's advocate there, though?
Yeah, go for it.
So we go to better stallions.
100%, yeah, I said that.
They cost more. So people,
stallions, yeah.
So people then have got a bigger investment. I'm not going to say our vet bill. You heard our vet bill. So you try as hard as you can to get these foals to the races to try and get a return as well. And we're going to better stallions that are costing more. And this is not about the tax, but we get taxed on top and things along those lines. And I don't want to bring that into it. But, but people are paying so much, so we're behind so far. So people are trying, and there's less and less of us, unfortunately, in the industry now. So is that another factor that could drive that?
100% it's a factor. We pay more for stallions than we ever did.
Yep.
In the 90s, right, the average, I haven't got it in front of me, the average yearling sale price, it took to win 2 races to pay back your average yearling sale price for the average prize money in the 90s.
Got no chance of 2 races doing that now.
4 it is now.
Geez, I'd even question that.
No, it is. I've done the stats, don't worry. So basically, it's a lot more, you have to win a lot more races now to break even on the average yearling sale price. And the average yearling sale price is driven a lot by what you've said, the stow-in fees, really, isn't it? So if you're spending $25,000 on a stow-in service, you obviously need more for your yearling sale price. There's a lot of drivers with yearling sale prices. There's also, we're competing with a market in Europe. So we're getting European prices for horses that race for European money, yet in Australia we don't race for European money. So there's a lot to that. The point of this is, which is terrific, and what we want, we've got more horses making the races. That's less horses being rehomed, more owners getting returns, and quicker returns. So it's great. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing that we're very proud of, Paul.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I want to get these out here. We've got, I think Andrew Towers is a friend of yours by the sounds.
Would the real Slim Shady please stand up?
So I don't know him.
Andrew Towers.
I know Andrew Towers, but I don't think that's me, somebody else. So
Eminem, he's talking.
100% of the authorities don't want us to be handicapped their horses. That's Sean Grimsey.
Claimers.
Claimers, yeah. That's attached to that claiming comment, yeah.
Yep.
So that's one of the things, that's what I was saying, where people can claim them. And in America, and I know you say in Australia it doesn't work and the mentality doesn't work.
You can have claimers, right? But this is a handicapping system. We need a system at the base of it all. So claimers, yes. And I describe the handicapping system as the skeleton and programming, and that's what claiming races is. It's a programming tool. That's the muscle and the skin. That's what you see.
Yeah, but there's also turning a dollar around and making a horse go around more and more at different stables and people getting an investment. That doesn't happen now. The same people are taking the same horses to the races, racing the same horses. So our product has got stale. Whereas at least at claimers, Sean Grimsey claims one of my horses.
Yeah,
it moves state. It creates intrigue.
So that's a programming lever. We're talking the handicapping system at the base of that.
Yeah.
So there's still got to be a system at the base. You can have as many claiming races as you want, but you still got to have a handicapping system at the base of all that.
Yeah.
You can't have every horse in a claiming system.
No.
Right. So claiming is a programming tool, but this is handicapping we're talking.
I'll put my hand up. I think I raced one horse in claiming races. So, yeah, I'm happy to say that. But I do think there's a place for it. Hang on.
We're still on crop.
No, I've got to keep up with you, that's all.
We're still on crop utilisation. So this is for Australian bred horses only. And this is in real figures. So the previous one was in percentage terms. So as we breed less horses, of course, we're still getting as many to the races. There's a bit of supply and demand in that. So when you look at these in real figures, in 09-10 crop, that's the year the foals were born. By the end of their 2 and 3 year old season, we'd had 1,000 horses make the races and win, right? And you can see each year this trend was dropping. 16-17 was the first crop to get into the rating system as juvenile horses. And the numbers of horses in real figures that won a race improved from 908 the year prior, and it had been a pretty steady decline, to 1,154. So it was a big jump up.
So how does the rating system initiate that?
So the reason that's happening, there'll be a lot of reasons why that's happening. One of the main ones is previously, if you had a 3-year-old and you went into an open age race, you won that race, right? You became a C1. You didn't get your 3-year-old CO, your 3-year-old C1, you didn't get to win your CO. So people were very reluctant to race against the older horses with 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. Now, once the ratings came in, they soon said, well, hang on a sec, a 3-year-old win might be worth 3 points and an open age win's worth 3 points. I'll go and race the open age horses where I know I'll get a quicker return.
So you're saying that the 3CO, 3C1 was back before 2009-10?
No, before 16-17 crop.
When the 3CO, 3C1 were before that? That's what I'm saying. So and then the rating system came in. You're saying the rating system changed it?
The rating
because
system,
the 3-year-olds had to race the older horses.
Could race the older 3-year-old horses without taking any greater penalty. See, in the past, if you had a 3-year-old mate and take the older horses on, you effectively did 3 classes.
Must be you. Yeah, but we used to be able to race 3CO, then we raced a 3C1. Right on the floor is the best spot if it's going to keep ringing.
Yeah.
3CO and then a 3C1, and then you become a CO.
That's right. But in the rating system, you can just go against the older horses. You don't incur those 3 wins.
And you think that drives why there's been more 2 and 3 year olds racing?
Yeah, 100%. More winners. This is winners.
Okay.
So by allowing those 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds to race against the older horses, they're winning more races, more than ever in percentage terms. These numbers are dropping as the crops get smaller each year, right? So crops are slowly declining by about 200 or 300 a year, and that's been in decline since the late 80s. So it's not hugely, well, it's alarming, but it's not over alarming as it has been. It's been declining for a long time. So, yeah, these numbers are dropping slowly, 1154, 1127 each year, but the main point of this is more 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds are winning than ever.
There's one that's in reference to your hair, Toby. And then they're picking on your sweater. Brett Hogan, is there a data sheet on the 4 races wins and you're in front of on breeding?
No, I don't have that data, Brett. I know what he's talking about. I said that you had to win 4 races. The average prize money, just in round figures, Brett, the average prize money per race, say, is $10,000. The average yearling sale price...
Average price in Australia, even Victoria, is not 10,000.
So in Australia, just in round figures, I haven't got that data in front of me, but the average race is worth $10,000 and the average yearling price is $40,000. In the 90s, it was $3,000 and $6,000. Is what he's talking about. How about 2-year-olds? Yep, I can give you 2-year-olds.
Shelley Wicks, you can't use
that
that sort of language. I'm not going to let it come up, so you got to be polite. So take it down, leave the last word out, and it'll show up. Otherwise, we won't touch it.
I'll get to it anyway, Shelley, because she's wrong. Greater spread of prize money is the next one, Paul. You'll be able to roll onto that. So the number of horses that earn 10,000 or more in a racing season, this is a very difficult one to follow, and I had to pick a number, and I understand that $10,000 in a year is not going to pay for a horse for the year, right? I get it, but I had to pick a number to try and provide some consistent data. So this was the number of horses that earned more than $10,000 in a year. So in 2002, obviously we raced for less prize money. My mouse has disappeared here. Where'd it go? Here it is.
Yep.
There it is. We raced for less prize money here. We're slightly over what is called the trend line. The dotted line is the trend line. Over the last couple of years, that has gone up considerably over the trend line. So we're getting more horses to the standard $10,000 per annum. I won't dwell on this one for too long, but this is one of the objectives of a handicapping system. This big drop here, can you guess what that was? 06, 07, or 08? Equine influenza. So as when it went through, there was obviously less horses racing, less people got to the $10,000. That's good signs that there's more people in the industry getting to at least $10,000 per annum. I'd love it to be 20,000, love it to be 30,000. I had to pick a general number, and it was 10,000 was the one I picked. I won't go into that one too much more. This is again 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds that are winning, and the green line is when the national ratings came in. So I think Craig...
It was back a bit.
Craig Judd said...
How about 2-year-olds?
I did say that 40,000 was an indicative number, but anyway, in no sale, he's averaged 40,000.
No, because I think it was about 32 last year. So, but anyway.
Anyway, keep going. So this shows 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds winning. And so... It really is about, you can see when the national ratings came in, more 2-year-olds win races, more 3-year-olds are winning races than ever. So that is going up. It was pretty consistent back here, and there's been a pretty steady incline. And this year alone, these figures are already equal to last year. So that's only going to go up as the next month rolls out.
And so you put that down, they've got choice that they can go against 2-year-olds or they can go against older horses. Is that what you're putting it down to?
That's one of the factors.
Yep.
Another factor is we're breeding better horses. We've changed the calendar season, which came in over here after the big climb. There's a lot of factors to it, but whatever it is, more 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds are winning than ever, and that is when... Like you look at that trend line, that is when the ratings came in. So it all can't be too much of a coincidence.
keep going for the minute, and we'll get to some of those comments in a sec.
So this is 3-year-old wins against older horses. And again, in the 10 years prior to the ratings, 3-year-olds were averaging about 200 wins a season across those 10 years here before we get to the ratings coming in. Since the ratings come in, the average is 317 per season. So 3-year-olds winning against the older horses has dramatically shifted. You can see that shift in it. And that is from what we were discussing only a few minutes ago if you've just joined us.
I'll get to them. We'll get to them. That's what I said. That's what I said. I reckon we'll try and guess a sec. We'll go back a sec. Lindsay Harper doesn't. What about Shelley's for 3-year-olds before the rating system? So you probably just touched on it.
And therefore is talking rubbish. Fair enough.
I did ask her, be respectful, guys. Brandon Hewitt, we'll get to yours. Good work on coming on to biggest frustration. Horses turnover. Now, yes, longevity in horses' career, but people no longer buying and selling and breeding, and I do agree with this one. Horses like they used to affects the longevity, sustainability in all aspects of our game. So what he's saying, that there's a lot of horses that just stay in stables and don't move. And back, there was heaps of horses moving. So the more you can make $1 off a horse, I believe, the better you are. But yeah.
Yeah, on the longer the horse races for you and you don't have to reinvest, the better for the owner, isn't it?
Well, yes and no, because if they can sell, move it on. Yep. Did you want to keep going on these comments? Or
Yep. Adam, great stuff. Thank you. I do. Yep. Yeah, keep going.
Michael Day Jr.
Michael Day, over 3-year-old won a 62 rater. Next year will be an open grade. Don't think that's good. Old system will be a C1 and will be competitive now, as you say, get back to 40 underrated so much. Yep. Well, we'll get to some of that.
Grant Forrest.
Yep. Yes, thank you, Grant. Not sure we're getting any greyer. But the number of 2 and 3-year-old winning, in my opinion, isn't so much to do with the ratings. It's more the change to programming genuine maidens as opposed to the old COs. Yep. Can see where you're going with that, Grant. The two things work together, the handicapping system and programming. Those 3-year-old winners are skewed from the states that have had age concessions. Yeah, a little bit. Yep, correct. But they're the stats, Michael. Like, I can only present them as they are.
Oh, this is
that's quite a long one. So, James, as part of the more simple than knowing it, betting on a C3 country 3 wins or a MO Metro no wins. Yeah, I understand that. But the problem with that, James, is that horses only move forward, right? So I know there was the drop back rule after 10 starts, but you C1, C2, C3, C4, and then your life ended, right? Now we can have horses winning 10, 15 races that never would have won that. Never would have won it. And you're talking about on-sale potential, Paul. Once those horses got to a C4, you're saying you moved them on, but how many more wins did they have in them? They might have only had one more win in them. Now that horse might have 10, 11 more wins in it. Alexander, I think the 10,000 per year should have... you went too far.
Sorry.
Inflation. Well, yes, so... I had to just pick the same one. So that's why that graph went up, and I found the trend line, Alex. So, correct?
I'd like to see stats on 2 and 3-year-olds winning against older horses.
Well, I haven't broken that down, but, yep, keep going. You keep saying that 2 and 3-year-olds winning more, but isn't that because there are more races for them? Well, yes, there is, Ben. There's more races 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds because they can nearly go in any race they want. So we'll keep going. We'll keep rolling.
Yep.
This shows live foals, 2-year-old individual winners and 3-year-old individual winners and 4-year-old individual winners. In percentage terms, so the black numbers here, the 7 and up to 9% was pre-ratings. Percentage of 2-year-olds winning races has gone from 11, 16, 16, 16 and 17%. So it's strange, and as people say that yearling sales were better and seem to imply that the rating system has... made it worse for yearling sales. So what I don't understand is if less than 10% of 2-year-olds were winning a race in the 15-16 crop and prior, how that's worse than 17% of them winning a race now. We've got 17%. We've nearly doubled the number of 2-year-olds that are winning races. So if you went to the yearling sales in 2012-13, you're an 8% chance of getting a horse win a race. If you went to the yearling sales from the 21-22 crop, you're at 17% chance of winning a race. For 3-year-olds, the same thing again. It never got above 20%, and now it's up. Last year was 32% of 3-year-olds had won a race. And for 4-year-olds, that's improved as well. It never been above 24%. It's never been lower now in the national ratings. So, again, and people say I'm harping on it, more 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds winning races.
we'll get on to that other one in a sec. You're right, keep going. Robbie Barker, bring back claiming races. I'm not sure what else he says there. Sorry, Robbie. Yep, and Chris Lang, that's all been positive. Has there been any negative stats that you brought with you? Adam Logan, biggest drama is in our system, and there is a glut of horses rated
Correct,
40
Adam.
to 50. And that is
Correct.
right. And this is one of the things...
Chris will get to it.
And back to
Adam.
what you're saying there, with the sales, there isn't the want for horses to fill their stables. That's one of the things that people believe, because they don't need horses because they've got these older horses that are still there. So that is one of the things.
Well, they should, because if they buy a horse from the yearling sales, they're twice as likely to get a 2-year-old winner now.
Yep, but they don't need them because they've got the older horses that are staying there. So that's one of the things. But that's okay. We'll keep going because we will get...
So this is for Shell. So this is by total win, Shell. So again, the green line here, the up and down, is when the ratings came in, and this is the number of total wins for 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. So it was on the decline, as you'd expect, as the each crop got lower and lower as the years went on. And ever since the ratings when it came in, total wins has significantly increased for 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, because I'd been told that, yes, more were winning one race, but the collective wasn't as much, but that's not quite the case.
Could I argue that peak just past the line there's a little bit hard, I'm doing you pointing, that also been at that time where Victoria were racing lots of races, extra races like 12 race cards and things like that? Could they have skewed that?
Yeah, but it's still above than that peak was huge, right? I get that, but it's still above than where it ever was prior, and we've got a smaller crop than we did back then.
Okay, keep going for the minute. We'll get back to some of those questions. They're coming in thick and fast.
So, over the last couple of years,
do you keep
over the last couple of years, over the last 12 months, I did a lot of road shows. Many people would have been to the road shows, and a lot of this data was presented at the road shows that you've already seen. And to get to Chris Lang and to Adam Logan, the problem with the rating system is too many horses is the percentage. The percentage of horses in the racing population over or below NR50. So effectively, 55% of our horses are 50 or below. And that was taken at the end of last year, that snapshot, and that would be worse now.
Yep.
We can't have horses starting in the rating system with 55% of horses below them. When you're having your first start...
Totally agree.
You can't be starting here and having 55% of horses below you. So what's wrong with it, Chris? And the bad data, Chris Lang's asking, this is it, right? Too many horses below the starting point. And unfortunately... in my opinion, and it was caused by when the rating system came in, there was a point for running second, and we took that point out. And that over the time, that's meant a lot of horses have dropped a lot lower than they would have. And they're the horses that sit in the rating system, those older horses you're talking about. We've got NR45s, and I always pick on this individual horse. NR45 that's won 15 races and had 15 seconds. If he'd got a point every time he'd run second, he'd be an NR...
I know, but
60.
We'd be the only sport in the world where you get penalised for getting beat.
No, you don't. Gallops do it. Gallops do it all the time. Horse runs a placing in a race, they can go up multiple points.
If it's a group race and things along those lines, not standard any race anywhere.
But the point is, it's not just your horse that takes the point, everyone else takes the point as well, right? So if you don't run second, everyone else takes a point, that makes your life easier.
But there's less and less dollars and we're still getting penalised for running second. I'm saying, yeah, this is... I actually agree with it, but that's the way people look at it.
Yeah, well, they've got to just change their mind on that, right? We have to understand we've got to move horses up and down the system. So the problem with a lot of those horses that are sitting 55 or 50 or below, they haven't been taking that point for running second because we took it out, which was by industry feedback, and that's resulted in so many dropping back so low. So we've got a lot of horses, and I think the general opinion on the road shows was there's a lot of horses from 40 to 50 that sit in the rating system, they stay in people's stables, and those horses should be 50 to 60. They should be in the 50 to 60 bracket, right? Then when you start racing, you're effectively then winning a race, then racing those horses. At the moment, when you're starting at 50, you have to lose a lot of races to get back to race those horses. Those horses, we need to push them up the rating system higher. And there's ways to do that, which we're going to go into in a minute. And that one of them is we've got to give them more points when they perform well.
But if a horse hasn't won a race and runs 4 seconds, it's effectively running against horses.
Wait, we're fixing that as well.
But this is what I'm saying. You're saying the point one worked. This is one of the scenarios that could happen. Horses could run 4 seconds in 10 starts, and it's effectively penalised for winning a race, doesn't get the prize money, and has gone up a grade. That's where it doesn't work.
It hasn't gone up a grade. The grade is the old
it's a
class
54.
system, right?
It would have been a 54.
Yeah.
If it hasn't run further back than fifth. If it's been consistent, you just can't break through.
So that horse, right, has earned $6,000 if it's taken a point every time in $10,000.
6,000.
If it's run second in 4 $10,000 races.
But there's not $10,000 maidens and maiden 3-year-olds, Toby. I'm sorry, but they're in Melbourne. I mean, you're talking if you race.
You said a horse takes 4 points for running second.
No,
What value was the race?
No, when you're saying that if you got 1 point for running second, what I'm saying the issue with that was if you had a maiden 3-year-old that ran 4 seconds, say in 5 starts, 6 starts, it's effectively a 54.
Yeah. What was the value of the races though?
The country races, $6,000, $7,000 races.
I don't think you took a point in those races. It's 8 to 12.
Well, these up to 54 rated horses and 50 rated horses, they wouldn't be racing in them either.
But my point is, let's say they're $10,000 races where you got a point for running second.
But that's different to these class of horses that are below 50 that everyone's saying about. Because those horses,
just hear my point, right?
Yep.
You're saying that that's unfair on that horse, right?
No, yeah, and I'm giving
go
you
to
the
54.
argument. Yeah,
But if it's had 4 seconds and earned $6,000, another horse might have won 2 $4,000 races and gone from 50 to 54, and it's earned 4,000. So that horse that's run second 4 times is actually financially better off going from 50 to 54.
So your owner who dreams of winning a race has gone up a race win without winning a race.
Correct.
Which is ridiculous.
Because we're trying to shift horses around in the system, right?
But the new owner comes in, he walks out and doesn't want to buy another horse.
Pretty unlikely circumstance too that a horse runs 4 seconds in 6 starts.
Yeah,
Pretty unlikely.
but it can happen. But yeah,
And we're going to get to the maidens, right? So that won't happen in the future.
right.
All right?
Yep.
So your example about the maiden won't happen. So the frustration, and you've just gone into one of the frustrations, right? You've gone into the second one. Very well done. Thank you.
I haven't actually got a run sheet. What am I doing? Clicking.
Click over.
Got to get the right button.
Seasoned horses with multiple wins across many racing seasons racing inexperienced horses. And at the road shows, and even before the road shows, this was a very, very common frustration. It's the 15-win horse racing a 1-win horse in an up to 49, in a 50 to 55, whatever you want to call that race. And it was particularly against juvenile horses, right? So seasoned horses with multiple wins across many seasons racing a horse. Like it might have had 3 starts for 1 win and be a 54 rater, and it's racing a horse that's had 100 starts for 10 wins. So the people were very frustrated with that. And so we need to give more points. I'll keep going through these, Paul.
Sorry.
2-year-olds were commencing their racing career at a rating which was too high relative to the current NR distribution. Now that's a big sentence. And that goes back to what I was saying before about the starting point of 50 is too high, right, at the moment relative to all the other horses. Horses are finishing their 3-year-old season too high in the rating system. And back to what Michael Manning said, there has been the concessions has certainly created a bit more of a problem here. So it creates a bit of a cliff, which I'll get into a bit further on. Age concessions create a false economy, so particularly when a horse turns 4 years of age. So what was happening with the concessions, particularly in New South Wales, and this was a frustration through all the road shows at New South Wales, often even after the road show, people were talking to me about it, not necessarily even through the road show, was a horse, let's say the horse is the ability of an NR60, but it uses its claim as a 3-year-old and finishes the season at NR 68 because it had been claiming back. It turned 4 and it's now a 68 with the ability of an NR 60, and it will take a long time for that horse to get those 8 points back down, right? So the age concessions had their role and they were good for providing opportunities to juvenile horses, but it was in a false economy. So when that got cut away, then all of a sudden the horse hit a cliff, right, and had to get back. So that was the downside with those concessions that was reported through the road shows. Too many juvenile horses, 3-year-olds in particular, are winning too easily at short odds against older horses. There's a lot of 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds in particular, and often would use that concession, would then race against the older horses, and they're just far superior and winning at very short odds. Here's one you've already raised, Paul. Rating points for maidens running placings should not be incurred. That got brought up nearly at all the road shows. Started with the legendary, I call him Soul Duck because he's the soul of the Riverina. He was the first one to bring it up. And really, the race programming is critical to any handicapping system, right? That's the final one. And I've already touched on it. Whatever system we have in place, the best horses will always be the best horses. The middle average horses will always be the middle average horses, and the poor ones will always be the poor ones. Doesn't matter what the handicapping system is. And you have to program around that to create opportunities for those horses. So even after these proposed changes come in, again, it's going to be a lot about programming, not about the handicapping system. So some people would have had a chance to see these already.
There's stacks. I've got to get through them.
Stacks.
Yeah, you keep going on this for the sec.
So the HRRC recommendations. So if you missed us at the start, there's a group of 8 people, 6 representatives from all the 6 states, and 2 from the HRA member clubs, and an independent chair. I didn't mention the independent chair at the start, so probably should have. So there's effectively 9 representatives. I'm the secretary of that group. They make the decisions, and then I come on Campbell's comments and I get to present it and look like I've made all the decisions and answer all the questions. So they've made the decisions. I provide the statistical data and the analysis. So the recommendations in general are additional points to winners in the ratings matrix, which will push multiple winning horses up the rating. So effectively, when we get to the ratings matrix, and this was delivered at all the road shows.
So will you show this in a sec?
Yeah, we'll show the actual matrix in a sec. You're going to effectively get 1 more point every time you win a race, right? So if you win an up to $5,000 race, instead of getting 2 like you do currently, you will get 3 points. And what that's designed to do is to push horses further up the system so that we don't have so many horses in that glut from 50 down or 55 down and push them up the system. So effective, and it's not the end of the world for those horses because as they all move up, so all the 45 should move to about a 50. And I've done a lot of analysis on how this will affect, how this effect will happen. A lot of the 50s will move to 55. A lot of the 55s will move to 60. The 60s will move to 65s. We're going to get more horses in the 60 to 85 range, which we want because that's the hardest range at the moment to fill fields, particularly in regional areas. And then also that creates better betting opportunities because instead of having, say, a 65 to 80 somewhere, it might be a 65 to 72 and a 73 to 80. So then you've got tighter bands. It also creates more wins on the way through for the progressive horse.
Yep.
So there's a lot to why we want to add an extra point per win. And a lot of people think about their own horse initially and think, geez, if I win 6 races next year, I won't be a 50, I'll end up being a 56 and my horse isn't competitive against the 56s. But alas, all the other 50s should be coming up as well. And then
if you win 60, you should be an 80.
If you win 6 races?
Yeah. Sorry, you should be a 70, 74. Yeah.
Depends what level the value of the races are and how many races you have and whatever. I'm just using an example, all right? So it's not just your horse that's going to be 6 points higher.
Oh, yeah.
In the new one, it'll be all the other horses that win through as well. So we want to push the whole system up is effectively what we're trying to do is drag that glut from 55 down to about 40 and push it up the system. So the second one is restricting horses dropping back to the last 4 horses on the provision they finish 6th or worse. So restrict horses dropping back. Restrict horses dropping back to the last 4 horses on the provision they finish 6th or worse. At the moment, it's every horse that finishes 6th or worse. And we will have races in Victoria worth $4,000 with, say, 13 horses in it. So it's a +2 race to the winner and a -7 race to all the ones that finish 6th or worse. And that, again, with 7 horses dropping a point, it's pushing
more backwards,
right? Which is creating the glut. So effectively that means, and I've got a matrix coming, and all this will get published, so you'll be able to see it. If it's a 13 horse race, it will be 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. It will be the only 4 horses that drop back. The next point is 2-year-old horses to incur half points rounded down in juvenile races. So at the moment, this sort of happens.
Is this the same for the 3-year-olds as well? Like
Yes.
2 and 3-year-olds?
So it'll be 2 and 3-year-olds,
Yep.
but I've outlined them differently. So at the moment, 2-year-olds take the half points at the end of the season. But what we wanted to create was a live figure as the season goes on. So if a 2-year-old wants to race the older horses, they've got a more applicable rating at that time. Then the rounded down came in, because if you're getting 3 points for winning the race, like how do you take 1.5 points?
Yep.
And basically the HRRC agreement was, let's round them down. Some horses are going to have an extra win out of that as 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. They might save a point here and there by having multiple times where they save a rounding down. So if your horse wins a 2-year-old race and takes 3 points, it'll only take 1. Then if it wins another 2-year-old race,
Only take 1 or 2?
take 1.
If you get 3 points, you only take 1, because it's half. Okay.
It gets halved down to 1.5,
yep,
and then
yep.
rounded down to 1.
Sorry, I thought you meant, yep.
Then if it wins another race for the same value and takes 3 points, it'll get halved and rounded down again and only take 1 point. So in that example, currently that horse would have gone to a 50 to a 56. It will be a 52 as a 2-year-old, right? So at the end of the year, we were doing that. As most people would know, that horse, say it finished the year as a 56, it'd go back to a 53. So in this, it would be 1 point better off, but so be it, Paul. If that horse is 1 point better off, like,
Well, I think you're better off. I think you're better off looking after young horses and everyone
Correct.
coming through, because it helps everyone.
And again, 3-year-old horses the same. 3-year-old horses to incur half points rounded down in juvenile races. So same principle, but this is new, right? This didn't happen previously. 2-year-olds got their points halved, 3-year-olds didn't. Now, the big asterisk to this is, if you enter your horse in a 2 or 3-year-old race at any meeting somewhere, and let's say Bendigo here down the road, Wednesday night, and there's 4 nominations in that race, so the race doesn't happen, you then move that horse into another race, or you double nominated into the up to 49 or whatever the race is. Because you tried to get in that 2 or 3-year-old race and you nominated for that 2-year-old and 3-year-old race, and you race the older horses, you will still get the half points. You will still get the half points.
Yep.
But
So
it has to be at that same meeting.
can I ask a hypothetical?
Yep, go.
Because I was actually told this one. If there's say for argument's sake, there's a 3-horse 2-year-old at Bendigo on Wednesday night.
Nominated. Yep.
And Bendigo's a great one because noms are open over the weekend. You get up Monday morning, you say, hang on, there's still only 3. I'll late nom my horse in that, but I'll go into this maiden that I can win and then only get half points.
Yep.
So you can still even be a late nom and manipulate the system
Yep.
to get half points. And you don't have an issue with that?
Look, I don't know. Because we want to get the 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds racing each other, so we want as many 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds to...
Yeah, but this race is not going to stand up. That's what I'm saying. It's got 3 horses in it. You late nom, and then you go into a maiden and take on the up to 50 rated maidens.
You will get half points.
Yeah, and you take on the 40 to 50 rated horses, which is what's effectively happening now. I know that's pie in the sky stuff because you've got to get those races, but I can see that being happening, especially at the start of the season.
Possibly.
Yep.
And this group, the HRRC, Handicapping Ratings Review Committee, are going to meet every 3 months. So examples like that you're saying, if it becomes apparent that it's rampant, they'll be looking at it every 3 months.
Yep.
So, and whenever you change things, right? In the AFL changed their rules. Every CIS sport in the world changed their rules. Soccer changed its rules this year. Everything does. There's always intricacies.
Yeah.
And there's no more intricacies than there is in harness racing.
I actually like the rule. I just think that if people actually nominate for Bendigo Friday, do the right thing, the race isn't going to stand up, then someone can come in and go into that same race. That's all for the same points. I just think it would encourage...
But that's state-based a little bit. So the state can say, no, that's happening, we're not going to allow late noms.
Yep.
And then that can't happen.
but you want the 2-year-old to stand up. What I'm saying is, but try and get them to nominate, and then if the races aren't going to stand up, go from there. Back to that quickly. Yep.
So on this basis, it'll be states, and please give the handicappers and the programmers a chance to work out how to program this. This is going to be a little bit different. There's going to be change. And there's not going to be a 2-year-old and 3-year-old race at every meeting. So it mightn't be one at Bendigo, right?
No.
You can't have a 2-year-old at every program at every meeting.
Right.
You'll never get one, right?
No.
So people are just going to have to work within that. State age-based concessions will be removed. They will be finished. So those 2-year-old, 3-year-old concessions.
As of January 1?
That's as of January 1, 2026. And with 3-year-olds only taking half points, they're going to get that concession as they win races, right? So that concession will be a live concession. So when they finish at the end of their 3-year-old season, they're not going to have this hurdle where they're too high and all of a sudden have to try and get back. So,
and if they are too high, the reality is they've had a great year, got a lot of money in the bank. So
it's not so much the 100-rated horse that people reported at the roadshows was the issue. They were talking more about the 3-year-old that finishes the year somewhere between 55 and 70. That 3-year-old, it was just finishing the year too high, right? So the concessions were dragging that 3-year-old back. So that 3-year-old that gets to about a 70, with taking half points as a 3-year-old as that season goes on, he really should be. And then when this 2-year-old crop comes through that's starting at 45, they really should be finishing more at a 55, 60 level, which at the Ratings Roadshow was very common, that sort of horse. Wasn't too many people getting up saying, Kiang Zahara is a NR120 and it's really unfair. Like, you didn't hear those.
There's actually one thing I want to bring up with you in a minute, but that's okay.
You can bring it up whenever you want.
Well,
the last one.
I will. Okay, later.
The last
Hopefully.
one, right? Do you want to read the last one? Click it over. You can read it, right?
Oh, no, you can read it. No.
Ratings points will not be incurred for horses that run second or third in a maiden race, right? So that horse that runs placings, 2, second, or there's not many times where you would get a point for running third. They will not be incurred, right?
Yep.
It has to be programmed as a maiden race, though. It can't be a maiden horse taking on the open horses, or it can't be a maiden in an up to 49 against all older horses. Has to be a horse in an actual programmed maiden race.
Yep. Class is a maiden, where it's listed in the comment in the
Correct.
description. So these are the new rules that are coming into effect January 1.
Correct.
Right. What's the next slide? Because we got a stack. Okay, so this is a matrix. So how about we try and get through some of these and sit back. Right, we did Chris Lang, Adam
Chris,
Lowe,
there was some negatives in there. Yes, Sean Grimsey.
More 2-year-olds are going to win.
But Sean, to answer that question, to go back to that data, more 2-year-olds are winning because the season is longer. They generally don't race anyway till about March or April, and they used to start in December. So the actual amount of time they're racing in a season is nearly the same. But there was 2 seasons where until that change of the calendar year came in, and we saw that those spikes go up before that change of season. So
I would actually say to that, and it's a little bit onto that too. The season's still technically 12 months, but those horses are racing at effectively 3. Where in years gone by they were 2.5, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're a lot more mature. They're a lot more mature, is what I'm saying. So there is that factor that happened with the change of season, not so
I'm
much
not saying he's wrong.
Yeah.
It definitely, but it's not the sole thing, and we did see it go up before that came in.
Yep. Comparisons with paces and trotters, it is sort of
I have
the same.
done some.
Over.
I have done some. I haven't got it here because Paul needs a lemon drink. Yes, he does.
I've tried that. Just need to stop talking. Alex Hurley.
Yes, Alex, you are correct. There's a percentage of 2-year-olds that win a race aren't necessarily the same percentage of 2-year-olds that went through the sales. So Alex is saying that back at where I said now 17% of 2-year-olds win a race, it used to be 10%. Maybe the horses that go through the sales were making up a greater percentage of that 8 or 9%, right? Which would be fair, Alex. But I'm sure we should be yelling from the the rooftops that under the national rating system, 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds are winning more races, and it's a great reason why we should be getting people to buy horses from the yearling sales. So we seem to talk it down.
This one of Lindsay's was written before we got to the new thing, so
we
it
can
actually
roll
comes.
on.
So yeah, so he's saying it's killing the system, but that's why they have changed it. However, they then get to put a national rating system quickly, so that's changed now for Lindsay. So hopefully that's answered some of Lindsay's. Both my 2 young horses. Whoops.
Yep, one against the older horses. Stephen's done it very well. I remember he had a 2-year-old, I reckon, go to Cranbourne and won a race there. Might have been the only race it won as a 2-year-old. I'm probably wrong. So exactly, Toby. So
Not sure what that's
you
what
get
that's
penalised
called,
a second. You also get a check. Yes, you do. Didn't they move up with the old system? Yeah, they probably did. It's so hard because some of these comments are live on a comment. Alex Ashwood. So many horses driving back. Not enough. I was going through goes to make it even racing. We had more horses in the system, wouldn't be an issue. Alex is right. We've lost a lot of horses from the system. We used to breed 15,000 horses, and so out of a crop of 15,000, like 7,500 were making the races. Well, we don't have those numbers anymore, and people talk about the class system a lot, right? And you think about a C5 race. Right? How many C4 races had to be run to create a 10-horse C5 race? How many? 10. How many C3 races had to be run to create 10 C4 races?
Yeah, the same thing.
100.
What do you mean?
Well, to create 10 C4 fields...
Oh, races. Sorry.
Races.
I only half heard
You
you.
need 100. To have 100 C3 races, how many C2 races?
200. No.
1,000.
Yeah.
To have 1,000 C1 races, how many maiden races, right?
Yeah.
So the class system was built on a pyramid where you needed a lot of horses. We don't have those horses anymore, so we can't build the pyramid. That's where it was failing.
I know, but we don't have a
Which I
pyramid
think
now.
Alex
It's
was
all
touching
down
on.
the bottom. Sean Grimsey, the trainers. Tony, Jamie, I agree. The gallopers
They do go up and
go
down.
up and down, but if they win,
Jamie, you know, he's a tri-code participant. I don't know if they're all in his name, but he can take all credit.
He's also a farrier.
He's a quad code participant because he's a brilliant runner as well.
he's also a farrier. So,
As long as he's not a horse thinnist.
but if you win a race at Manangatang, you're not going to go up. Andrew Fitzgerald, the point for second thing makes sense. Andrew's from New Zealand, but I think it should be done on stake.
Which it is. So we'll get into the matrix in a minute.
Andrew Towers.
You race in a maiden. Not all horses start racing in a maiden, Andrew. So there's some horses that don't start their career in a maiden. They might go straight into an up to 50 race or whatever. So
It's pretty hard at the minute to find a maiden to go into sometimes.
Well, if you're a 2-year-old trotter at Terang and there's the maidens at 2-year-old trot that week's at Kilmore, you might race against the older horses because you're probably going to gallop anyway, right? So, well, I shouldn't say that, but you know what I mean. Like to give
that is a
spirits.
negative thing to say. That's, no, they have proved.
So, do you know how much we race for in Victoria?
No, Sean Grimsey, the NR system was going to work. It would have needed to change by now. David Mangry, Shane Clary, you will only incur a point running
Correct.
second from the 1st of January. Yep.
For 8,001, I'll get to that slide in a minute, Shane.
Don't worry about Paul Scott. It's fine. Faithful.
4 seconds in a row, yes. And hasn't he been a good horse, Faithful? She's a she. Sorry, Jamie. I didn't mean to give her.
Correct, Paul, as those 40 to 50 are not affected seconds, so they won't be in 50 to 60 rated. So that's the hassle. So
It's when I'm talking about that. I'm talking about that horse that would have been a 55 in the past. He's dropped back to, or she has dropped back to a 45 rater. There would have been times they've run second in a race where they could have incurred a point, and that would have held them higher up the system.
problem is a lot of those horses don't go up and down now. They stay down that bottom, but that's okay. Joe Pace.
Which is why we're increasing the points up, Paul, and restricting the drop back.
Stephen Clark. So my Metro Maiden runs 5 seconds. This makes it almost impossible for him to win a Metro Maiden. Well, in a way, Stephen, because
why is that?
because
It's
they're
still
running seconds. That's
It's still
exactly
Metro
right.
Maiden.
And if he hasn't won a race up to 15, which is now up to $15,000 in value, is now the maiden. But I think what he's trying to say is,
if it's drawn on NR, it's worse.
yeah.
But if it's a Metro Maiden, still
a Metro
Maiden.
Maiden now doesn't matter. It's an up to $15,000. No wins. That's in Victoria. I don't know what it is in other states.
Stand starts are a good way of handicapping.
Yeah, don't mind that idea. Taking points for a place His fine for every race was 10
keep
grand.
keep right. Michael, what?
I don't know. Oh, I know he has. Rightio. No, we won't worry too much anyway. New Zealand struggles. Oh, I'll read it. Look, it's fine. The other one was having a go at you for not rocking into his tent the other day.
Sorry?
Yeah, don't worry.
I didn't go to a tent.
Was the marquee. The Melton the other night. The APG finals.
The Vicbred finals?
Yep.
Was there a marquee there?
Oh, the, what's that bar called?
Oh.
Yep, it was there anyway. Ask Brett Rail. From what I hear around stables, Queensland might have a better system.
Very dangerous. Very dangerous. One state has a different system to the others, particularly on the eastern seaboard, because then if a horse is, let's say a horse is an NR 100 in two states, and in the other state it's like a class 1 or class 2, that horse is going to go up and just win. And then on the flip side, you'll have other horses. So if one state has a totally different system to the other states, now WA had a different system for a long time, but it was pretty hard to drive over to WA, win a race and drive back, right? So if one of the eastern seaboard states, particularly Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, had their own system, it would be a very dangerous thing to do because horses will pick that off. Like you look at, there's a lot of horses come from WA to Victoria because they were NR30, and over there they were racing at metro level, basically NR70 level. They were NR30 because they had a different system. One particular trainer who we has sent in a message jumped onto this very quickly, brought him over, win, right? So as soon as one state has a different system, a totally different system, that's a very not dangerous, but you can see how that could easily be manipulated, and both ways.
Yep, Andrew Fitzgerald's talking about the New Zealand system, how it's tough to rate. We understand that. And it is, New Zealand's a whole different field, and we don't want to touch on that.
They do it differently to here.
Yeah, and
different.
I'm not flipping past Andrew.
Similar numbers.
I think at the minute I've still got 35 messages to try and get to as we speak. It works great in free-for-alls.
Yeah, I think Adam's saying there's not enough horses between 60 to 90.
Yep. No road shows in Queensland. I think there was there not?
There was definitely a road show in Queensland.
Yep. Jack Law's hit a button. That's okay. He's given me 99 stars, so that's okay.
He gave me 99 stars, Jack, I reckon.
No, I don't think so. It's Todd Campbell's comments. Rachel Beaton, if you remove the current state-based age concessions, will there be a reassessment for current 2 and 3 year olds?
There won't be. No.
No. So, okay, so it'll be after this year.
But see, the 3-year-olds next year, Rachel, will take that concession as the year goes. So if that horse starts as a 50 and it wins a race worth 4 points, it'll only take 2 points. So it'll get that concession as the year goes.
Adam's saying I can't expect, I don't think this is on me, 1 in 1,000.
Yeah, correct.
But they are there.
There will always, in any system, be anomalies that you can't.
If a 2-year-old, 3 and 3-year-old races against open age horses and there is no race for them in their own age group, this is one of those ones that's been fixed.
Great question, Michael. No, so if a 2-year-old, 3-year-old race against open age horses, no race for them in their own age of that meeting. So if a 2-year-old races an open age horse, there's no 2-year-old race programmed, it will take full rating points. So in that example, Michael, if there's a 2-year-old at Bendigo on the Wednesday and you go to Shepparton on the Tuesday, you will take full rating points in that race. And the idea of that, and it was very strong at the road shows, we want to get 2-year-olds racing 2-year-olds. People don't like 2-year-olds racing the older horses. So to stop that, or to not stop that, to assist more 2-year-olds to get into fields and get more 2-year-olds racing 2-year-olds, is to incentivise them by getting the half points when they race themselves.
You think you'll be able to listen? He's a mate of yours, so we can flip over. I reckon removing age concessions will have less 2 and 3-year-olds racing.
Well, so the age concessions
they're actually there though, because they're there every day now.
They're built in a way. They're built in. So 2-year-olds are getting a 5-point concession, and then they're built in as the year goes.
So a 2-year-old starting at 45 can win 3 races and will still be in and up to 50 rated.
So there's an asterisk, Josh. So a 2-year-old starting at 45 can win 3 races, depending on how much the races are worth. So that 2-year-old might win 3 races in 2-year-old races and take 1 point in each. Say they're $5,000 races. It'd be a 48, and then it could go in and up to 49. But if it wins that up to 49 and there was no 2-year-old race programmed, it would take the full penalty points.
Hypothetically, if we win 10 races in a row.
hypothetically, yes, a 3-year-old could win
One in
10
a
races in a
thousand,
row. Toby, stop asking Paul
to
to times
10.
by 10.
He was doing me Eddie, he was doing me Eddie and Granny. Thank you. I wasn't in the mood. Wasn't in the mood for maths, so I appreciate that.
Grant's a school teacher, so he'll pick up on
Yeah,
all those things, and he'll
what-
probably put in our report.
What you talking about?
Toby
Then?
talks too much.
The national-wide system, obviously, best practices. However, how about national prize money standard as well? Well, that's a lot trickier.
That's difficult.
That's a whole different field.
Each state runs their own prize money system.
Alex Ash would love the West Australian system.
I
before
never
you
named
change the
anyone.
rules.
I never named anyone. I never named anyone.
Will this year's 3-year-old be compensated for changes? I think you typed that beforehand too, because we're still 40. Please, we're trying to get to them. It's just getting a bit ridiculous.
So James is saying, will this year's 3-year-olds be compensated for the changes
No.
as they turn 4 next year? No, they won't.
Oops.
And they wouldn't have been in the old system either, James.
Oh.
Sorry
about that. Toby, I'm
Shane, hang on. Let's just stop on this one.
No, hang on.
I saw well done, Paul.
Yeah, I think the changes are good, step in the right direction. It'll help 2 and 3-year-olds not getting through the classes
That's
quickly,
what
40 or 50.
Yeah.
2 issues that I see under the new system. Some 2-year-olds will be pushed to race before they're probably ready. Yep. Because if they get into start as a 2-year-old, they'll come back as a 45, and that's fair enough too. The other issue is a horse that might need time and might not start to a 4-year-old. But again, I suppose that gets back to the 1 in 1,000. And I've got one out there. But
So what Shane's saying, at the end of your 2-year-old year, if you have not raced, you're effectively going to take a 5-point penalty and move to a 50. But I don't think our trainers are going to push a horse to race that's not ready.
No.
I think I would like to think everyone puts the horse's welfare 100% first.
yeah.
So, Shane, again, that's something that will be monitored very closely. And if there's a lot coming that are uncompetitive, well, one, they've got to trial and qualify, so they have to be competitive to trial, and then that's an integrity.
All horses driven by James Herbertson should get double points.
points.
My mouse has stopped working. Why's my mouse stopped working, Tobes? Oh, we might be up to the bottom. Does Harness Racing South Australia...
Reece, yes, they will. So the South Australian concessions aren't age-based concessions. That's for all horses. So they have a different system. I won't go into it now, but the South Australians will know it well. Beck East will know it well, so there'll be some Victorians that know it well as well. I think a lot of people, I shouldn't say the South Australia, a lot of people know it well, but those concessions will stay in place, Reece, to answer your question.
The only way to move horses up in classes via programming, you can also exclude horses via programming. So why are the owners of horses rated under 40 being discriminated against by copping as much as 10 penalty points for winning a $4,000 race? 10 penalty points.
Yeah, so when a horse is a 30 rater and it wins any race, the minimum a horse can start its next race is an NR40.
I don't have an issue with that.
So, and what's that? Well, the purpose of that is, particularly at that low end, they're often low value races. So the last thing that I suppose you would like to see is a horse win as a 30, a 32, a 34, a 36, a 38 and a 40. And if you were in that race against that horse and you were unable to beat it 5 weeks in a row in up to 39s, that would be quite frustrating. So I think that's the main reason that was brought in a number of years ago. And I did get a text from a friend of mine about that he also believes that that shouldn't be in place, that the minimum after winning a race is 40. But at that lower end, I think most people would consider it's rather fair. You can't have horses winning 5 races in the same grade, because effectively up to 39 is nearly the same grade.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that when 50 is our benchmark.
Did we get to the bottom?
I think so.
Told you we'd have some comments.
We haven't finished. We got some viewers. We got everything. We haven't had, we have one on Stuart Watt. Conciliate has won 3 races and is a 64 rater. What rating will she be?
Is she a 3-year-old now?
At 3 next season. No, she's a 2-year-old.
She's a 2-year-old and she's 64. So we halve the points at the end of the season for 2-year-olds currently.
That's on YouTube, anyone wondering?
That will still happen this year. It was Stuart, what was it?
Yep.
Of the
Conciliate or Conciliate.
4 big men
Yep.
of the 4 big men fame.
Yep.
So that horse will halve its points from 64 back to 57. This is the last year that will happen, because next year the 2-year-olds will take those half points as the season happens. So when it gets to the year's end, they won't halve their points.
No. Okay, so and then as a 3-year-old, it potentially will go up half points from that point on. So the 2-year-olds will benefit from it. The 3-year-olds won't. this year, right as we speak, right at the minute.
No, but because the 3-year-olds this year got the benefit of the age concessions.
Okay, sorry. Yep, okay. But then, yeah, that goes from there. Sorry, guys. Just joining the vision, missed the important bits. Where can we read the changes?
Helen, this will be posted. I will put something up on harness.org.au. Paul will post this as a video as well. So you'll be able to watch.
You can watch this anytime you want on YouTube. You can re-watch this on Facebook tomorrow.
Facebook tomorrow, YouTube tonight. You'll be able to re-watch it all.
Hopefully we're only going for about another 15, 20 minutes.
And just send in as many comments as you like.
Yep, after that, and Toby will be able to look at them.
Yeah, true.
You will be
we want to work through some ratings.
Yes, please.
Matrix? How long are we going for?
An hour and 15.
Oh, yeah, you're worried about there's something like 90 minutes.
I've got to get to Queensland. You just keep driving. You keep going here.
So this is how the proposed ratings matrix will look. There are some changes. We've rounded some numbers off here and pushed some numbers up a little bit. The main point, which I discussed earlier, is you get an extra point for winning a race effectively. As Shane Glowry mentioned, from 8,001 up, you will get 1 point for running second. So that's that example. If it's a $10,000 race, you're going to get $1,500 for running second, for example. So to get 1 point for $1,500, in my opinion, is okay, compared to 3 points for maybe $2,000, right? So that's all about pushing horses up higher in the system and getting all horses up the system a bit. Open age maiden matrix.
You click that yourself, that's fine.
Yep. This will look very similar, but there's just no points for running second or third in any race. So if it's a $10,000 maiden or a $14,000 maiden, if you can find a $100,000 maiden race and run second in it, has to be a maiden race. There's not many of them.
No.
You won't get a point for running a placing in it. If you're a maiden in an open race against any sort of horse, you will go back to the previous matrix and you would take a point for running a placing.
Tumby Park, any correction to the is it probably move going forward? Juvenile horses and Tumby Park invest in 2-year-olds and yearlings and go from there. And Michael House, why do 2-year-olds, I think, and 3-year-olds need concessions? And Michael's from a different school of thought. Yeah. Definitely from New Zealand, but also from a different school of thought. And I sometimes don't disagree with what Michael says.
I was in Red House. I was in Red House, which he'll be happy about.
Yeah,
at school.
Always bet on red. Don't worry about that. Keep going.
Juvenile matrix. So this is when you're racing a 2-year-old or 3-year-old only race. If it's a $5,000 race, you would take 1 point. In a 5,001, 2. In an 11,000 to 16,000, I'll just go back a couple, Paul. Whoops, I went forward a couple. The open age matrix. I know they all look the same. In an $11,000 to $16,000 race, you will get a point for running second. Now, if it's a juvenile race, you won't, because it's halved and rounded down.
Yep.
So where you take 1 point for running a placing as a 2-year-old and 3-year-old, you won't, because it's halved to 0.5 and then rounded down. So the juvenile matrix effectively, in any race up to 16,000, which is nearly covers all, like there's only a handful really of races above 16,000. There is some, where the most points you'll take is 3 in a 2-year-old and 3-year-old race.
Alex, I'll get to yours in a sec. Don't stress. I know what yours is, and I've got to ask Toby that anyway.
Juvenile maiden matrix, again, if it's a maiden race, it's basically the same, just no points running a placing. This is how the dropbacks work. So if it's a 6-horse race...
Okay, this is where I need to ask you the question.
Only 6th drops a point. If it's a 7-horse race, only 6th and 7th. If it's an 8-horse race, only 6th, 7th and 8th. If it's a 9...
So the first horse effectively is the 6th, and then if it's a full field, it's the last 4.
Yes. Yep. That's how you want to think about it. If anyone else in Australia thinks of it like that...
It's going to take you a long while to go through, and we don't have many 14-horse fields in Victoria.
So it's a 14-horse trot in Queensland. 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th will be the only 4
get the dropbacks.
That take the dropbacks.
And that was my question, so it still starts at 6th, and just depends... Yep, okay.
This looks confusing, but it's actually already the current system and how it currently works. So these are the proposed dropbacks. When you drop back a point, how it's calculated by...
My daughter's doing the commando role. She doesn't realise we're not on screen at the minute.
Oh, well. Some FAQs, which we've had a lot of them come in off the text, but I've put some in as well just to run through them. So if my 2-year-old, 3-year-old nominates in the designated 2-year-old and/or 3-year-old race, which is deleted due to insufficient noms, the horse then races in open range up to 49 on the same day does that horse get half points?
So
Yes, it does.
just on that, can my horse race in a 55 to 65?
Yeah, whatever. Any class race.
So I could go in a maiden 2-year-old that's not going to stand up, but if I think it's good enough to win a 55, I can still do that, win that race, and then next week go back into a
as long as you
race.
nominated in a 2-year-old or 3-year-old race at that same
and it
meeting.
didn't stand up. Yep. Okay.
Correct.
Cool.
If the 2-year-old or 3-year-old race is deleted yet and the horse races the next day and in a different race, in point 2, my 2-year-old or 3-year-old nominates in the designated 2-year-old 3, which is deleted due to insufficient noms,
Okay. Yep.
and races the next day at a different race meeting, the open age up to 49, it does he get half points? No. 2-year-old 3-year-old nominates in the designated 2 and is balloted. Does he get the half points? Yes. So if it's balloted and races the same day, it gets the same. It gets the points, the same as the race is deleted. If it's balloted and races the next day, no, it doesn't get the half points. Can my 2-year-old, 3-year-old still race against open age horses? Yes, but it will take full NR points.
Yep.
My 2-year-old has its first race start prior to the end of the 2-year-old season, like December 26th, let's say at Leeton, for example. Will the horse start the 3-year-old season on the same points it finishes a 2-year-old season? Yes. So it might have one start, finish 5th, it will start as a 45. My 3-year-old has its first start in his 3-year-old season on January 1st. That horse will start the 3-year-old season as an NR 45. No, it won't. It will start as an NR 50. And the reason it needs to go back to 50 is that starting point's important for... If we just move everyone to 45, you don't actually end up saving anything. You're just moving the whole...
Goalpost back 5.
Goalpost, yes,
Yep.
correct. So we need to get it back up to the 50. So it's effectively we're just trying to give 2-year-olds a 5-point concession. Now, with all the extra points and the restricted dropbacks, the starting level may change. Maybe we'll end up with... At the moment, there's 55% of horses below NR 50. Maybe that ends up being... 15% of horses, it's not going to happen, but it might get too low below NR 50, and then the 2-year-old starting point might end up being too low at 45. So in 3 years' time, it might go back to 50, right? Because the starting point is relative to where it is in the horse population.
Yep.
Right? So at the moment, it's about 55% of horses below the starting point. That's too much. So we want to drop that down, particularly
What you're
for
hoping is it can go up.
Yeah.
But
That percentage decreases to about 40%.
And again, looking at it every 3 months, reiterate that
Yep.
part.
My 2-year-old runs second in an open 2-year-old race. He receives 1 point for running second, which becomes half a point. What change is there to his national rating? None, because all half points are rounded down. I think I covered most of these through it, didn't I?
My 2-year-old finishes half points, yes.
My 2-year-old finishes 2026 season in NR 54. Will the horse have his points above 50 halved as they currently do? No, because he will take his half points as the season progresses. So if he finishes if he starts as a 45, finishes as a 54 next year, he will stay a 54 into his 3-year-old season.
It still only incur half points.
I placed my maiden in an open national ratings race. I've got racing there, national rating race. If the horse runs second, will the horse incur a point for running a place? Yes, it will. If you put a maiden
That's
in
prize money generated as well, levelled. Oh, no, is that from next year?
Oh, yeah, if it's at the right prize money. If it's a $10,000 race,
Yep.
If it's a $10,000 up to 40 and it's a maiden and it runs second, it would take a placing point. You only get it if it's a dead set maiden race.
Oh, sorry.
If a race... I ran out of FAQs and I've got space here to fill in some more,
coming in,
right?
don't worry.
This was kind of half on purpose. I was going to type some in as we went, Paul.
No, we're not doing that.
If a race is programmed as a 2-year-old and 3-year-old race, will that race have half points? Yes. So in some places early in the season, if you program a 2-year-old and 3-year-old race combined, that race will take half
Even
points.
late in seasons too.
Even
for
late in
states.
season.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. In South Australia, we'll use it. Tasmania don't really use it at the moment. Some places like, I don't know, Tamworth, where there's small pool of horses, might start to use this.
Small pool of aged horses, yeah. What about arguments like, just on that, Toby, a 3 and 4-year-old? To the 3-year-olds? No.
No.
So, because it's 3 and 4-year-old, that's
Correct.
it, full points.
Full points.
Okay.
And there's some intricacies with the computer system involved in that as well. So they have to check a box that says 2, 3, and then you can't check 3 and 4. So anyway.
Yep.
But no,
Doesn't
if it's a 3-year-old
happen.
and 4-year-old race, it can't be
I
programmed.
better put
like
that one up. You haven't put a space between thank and you.
Do you really want to talk about spelling?
Trust me, I need to. Right, hang on. We've got to go. They've come out of control again, so we've got to keep going back. Right, we got to that one. James wants a claimers back.
The last claiming race that I saw programmed in Victoria had 7 noms from the one stable.
I've just got another one there. Yep. I've got no answer for that.
Claiming races are
James
fine.
needs
Claiming races are
Mitchell Cox
it's
wants
a
them back.
programming thing. You can program as many of them as you want.
Why is the NR system capped at 120? Now, this is one I want to ask.
Yep.
So, Just Believe can go on a winning trail and win 10 races in a row.
Yep. Say he would be 150 if it wasn't capped. Yeah.
But he goes for 120, but then he gets beat in 2 and you do a preferential draw on a race and then you already draw underneath the horses that have just got to 120. How do you fix that? It's one. I don't think. I understand what you're saying.
It's been discussed by the.
Do you cap it that if you win 6 over 120, that you can't drop back for 6 starts? I don't know, but it's one of those things that instantly they drop back because they're racing for that good prize.
Well, it
money.
happened with RC Phoenix, right? He'd won the Insta-Dominion, and then Snooze took him to Menangle for like a standing start trot, maybe the Menangle Cup.
Yeah.
Or the Yamamoto. Or, he took him up there and he ran 8th in a field of 14, started a 40 or something, and he dropped an NR point to 119. He came back to Melbourne in and up to 120 and he drew better than something and he won the Insta-Dominion 2 starts prior, 3 starts prior, whatever it was.
Leap to fame right at the minute, it's the same thing, that if he gets, well, he's been beaten, when he gets beat in a couple of races, drops back, not the Victoria Cup.
Finish more than 6th. Those horses don't run in many NR. Oh, they would race in.
Yeah, they do. They probably race in more.
To answer Jeremy's question, it has been discussed by the HRRC.
It's one that I see in my watching a race at a different point of view.
At this point in time, about what we wanted to get in place by January 1, that wasn't something that they saw as...
Michael, you can't be serious. Stay in your lane. We'll stay in that one, Tumby. You guys can sort that one out. Still not giving you a drive. Hitchcock's still not giving you a drive. James Service is available. No, I think that's one at Mitchy Cox, that one.
Don't know the answer to what percentage of horses racing at tracks over the short distance drawing 11, 12, 13 winning is, James. That's
the problem with that one though, James, is more people bet. I understand what James is saying. When you draw 11, 12 and 13, we can't have our cake and eat it. If we only want small fields, we can't race for better prize money because the prize money is generated through TAB turnover and there's more TAB turnover on bigger races.
That's a state-based issue. Yep. I need a shirt or a cup. So that's state-based, James. States make that decision. So the handicapping system, I said this earlier, but you might have still been driving winners at stall. The handicapping system is the spine, the skeleton, and then how states program is the muscle and the skin. So you see the muscle and the skin of it, and you say the handicapping system isn't working because my horse keeps drawing 11, 12, 13 over short distance. Well, that's not the handicapping system. That's how states are programming it.
And it's the reality of racing now. It's changed. We won't go there. If you're watching on Twitter, I think unfortunately you might drop out. You might have dropped out.
So Alex is right. There is nothing to stop the states programming 1 win, 2 win, 3 win races, and they will continue to do that. And you're right, Alex. It's becoming a bit of a hybrid. So we have maiden races, we have 1 lifetime win races, 2 lifetime win, 3 lifetime win races, and we want horses to work through those races, come out the other side, and then be competitive and race on.
Hypothetical: if you have a 3-year-old, no more than 2 race wins, half point.
Yeah,
it's a half point.
If it's a 3-year-old race, it's half points.
Sweet.
So if I'm a state programmer, one of the big races I would be going to is like a 3-year-old 1-win race or a 3-year-old 2-win race.
And 2-year-olds.
And 2-year-olds, 2-year-olds as well. And what that will do is then you're getting all your 3-year-olds getting a chance to get a couple of races at half points. So if every 3-year-old out there could win a maiden and win an up to 1-win race, 3-year-old 1-win race, and then 3-year-old 2-win race, we get more horses getting a benefit of getting some half-point races. If I was programming for the states, I would be really strong on programming, particularly though.
There needs to be more 3-year-old, particularly trotters programmed. Yep, that's okay. That's Charles Couchy. That's just that's a state racing.
I haven't dug into it, but it's been incredibly, and the amount of 2-year-old trotters that have won this year in Australia, it would be over 50. I don't know if we've had this many ever before.
Is the idea to decrease races with special conditions?
Not sure on that, Dave, because there's so many unique scenarios.
Is 3 rating points now the lowest? Yep. So
Yep, that's the lowest. Yep.
If you're in Eureka, you can take 4 points.
Yeah, because it's a 3 and 4-year-old race, Alex. It's being cheeky.
I didn't actually mean
Joe
that.
Pace's stand races need them back. They haven't gone anywhere, Joe. He's just
Pacing races have
Harry Stamper.
no longer here.
Harry Stamper can go and stands.
Don't go there. Claiming races need to be 10,000 to 20,000.
That's a programming program. You can program.
Oh, sorry, Reece just lost yours. If HRV programs, what's that? $3,000 up to 45 rated race, there should be a penalty. They should be penalty 3, and thus you don't gain 3 points. Don't disagree. I don't agree. You have the choice not to go in those races, but yeah, needs.
Some of Mum's spaghetti.
She's giving you a hard time.
Said a bit. What do you mean?
Obviously,
spaghetti?
you're either skinny or something. I don't know. That's
I'm
the
not
first.
skinny.
I was going to say.
Paul, I've put a bit on. You should.
Is there room? Is there room for standing starts? It's a state-based thing.
Yeah, you can
how many
generally get
horses
7
drop?
across on a track.
How many horses? There's a great question. How many horses drop back per week? Darren Garrard. Hello to you, Darren. Too.
I don't know that number, Darren, but it's too many, right? I think everyone would agree too many horses are dropping back too quick. Darren might be the one that disagrees, and but I think too many horses drop back too quick. The states, the HRRC, think too many horses are dropping back too quick, hence the restriction of only 4 horses. Because if we go back, if we just go back, Paul, if you can click over to here.
Like Eminem.
Right.
They're giving you a hard time.
He's looking like Eminem. Oh,
Get going.
Marshall Mathers.
Concentrate.
I get Dave Hughes sometimes.
Just concentrate.
So the beauty with to Darren's point, now at the moment, in some places it might be 2 points to the winner and -7, so that's a -5 race. Now with the minimum being 3 points for a win, as Michael Manning pointed out, the minimum is 3. The most negative can be -4. So no race. Well, a race worth 5,000 or more will be a -1 race if it's a full field of 10 or more or 9 or more. But every other race will be ratings neutral or positive. So every race 5,000, 8,000, at least 4 to the winner, and can only be 4 dropbacks. This one is 8,000, 11,000, 6 points going up and 4 back. Because we need to push more horses from 50, 60, 70, 80. We want more horses in that 50, in particularly the 60 to 80 bracket. And by restricting the numbers of dropping back and increasing the penalty upwards, we'll get more horses in that bracket.
Yeah.
So Darren's, I think he's agreeing with me.
I'm not sure what Andrew tells.
Palms are sweaty.
Anyway, we're going to go back. Laura Wilson.
Hi kids, do you like violets?
If 2-year-olds have to start at 50, they'll be 45. Is that
They'll
correct?
be 42-year-olds will start at 45.
2-year-olds.
Yep.
Yep. They should back lower than that. No races are programmed for 2 and 3-year-olds going through their grades. Whoa, sorry, Andrew, don't want that. Where was I up to? This week, prime example, and I'm not the only one in this boat. Bat out of the hill, 3-year-old. Won 2 races from 5 starts and races horses that have won 12 and 19 because there's nothing around.
So I don't know if Laura's just joined us or not, but if you have, you'll be able to watch this back. And a lot of what we're trying to achieve here, Laura, is creating those horses that won more races. By taking an extra point every time they win a race, that horses won 12 or 19 theoretically into the future will be 12 or 19 points higher, right? Because it's taking an extra point per winning. So what you're saying, Laura, is what we're trying to solve.
Robbie Barker wants a claimers brought back. I'll leave it alone.
It's a programming thing, so you can program as many claimers as you want.
Fiona Elliott.
Hello, Fifi. No, we don't have enough horses. The answer, Fiona, in reality is we don't have enough horses to create that pyramid you need. And I talk about in the 1990s on Melbourne Cup Day, there was a race meeting at Terrelgan. In Victoria alone, there was a race meeting at Terrelgan, Yarra Glen, Terang, Warrnambool, Wedderburn. You know, there was 8 race meetings and every one of them had a maiden. You couldn't run 8 maidens in Victoria in a week now for paces and for trotters and 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. so we don't have the pool of horses to have enough maidens to create enough C1s that then creates enough C2, C3s. We don't have that pyramid. And in that class system, we had too many horses all at the same level at C1. We had this massive group of horses at C1 and you couldn't break them up evenly. There was no way to break them up because you had good C1s on their way through. You had C1s that were average and finding it really hard because they couldn't win the top. They couldn't win the top down ones. They couldn't get in the bottom up ones. And then you had average C1s that were never going to win another race because they'd won their maiden and that was it. Now in this system, because you can move up and down the system, all of those horses have an opportunity to keep racing.
Brandon Howlett, Toby, may have missed it, but if 2 and 3 year old races get changed to also eligible to help the field?
You can't put that also eligible Braden on the race. That will void the race of being a 2-year-old and 3-year-old race. So,
because Tassie, I would imagine, would be one of those places that may be affected by that.
So you could program a 3-year-old maiden, a 4-year-old and older maiden, and then once the 3-year-old maiden falls over, you could add those 3-year-olds into the 4-year-old and older maiden, or I'll start that again. You could program a 3-year-old maiden, a 3-year-old and older maiden, and then if the 3-year-old maiden alone doesn't get up, then those horses could move into the 3-year-old and older maiden at the same meeting and still take half points. You can't have also eligible 4-year-old and older. It will void it. Okay, so can I ask you a hypothetical? If you have, say, like in Brandon's case here, a 3-year-old... Braden. If you have a 3-year-old programmed at Tassie Launceston tonight, okay, you nominate for that 3-year-old. They can't look, actually, so that's a bad example. Let's go to Bendigo. The race isn't going to stand up, so then you say, right, I'll enter into that 4-year-old race. You've already used this one, yeah?
Yeah, no, stop for a sec. But then you're a late nom. So if you enter for a 2-year-old race and a 4-year-old race on the same night and the 2-year-old race doesn't stand up, are you then still eligible for the ratings points?
So it'll be a 2-year-old race and an open race? Yeah,
No. You've nominated, you dual nominated. Say for 3-year-old's easier. 3-year-old, and then you've also for a maiden. Because the reality is, if you late nom for one of those other races, and Tassie don't get to see their noms anyway. So if the 3-year-old's not going to stand up, you late nom into a 4-year-old, you're the last one in, if you know what I mean. And so if it's got a full field of 12, you're not going to start. So if you nominate for the 3-year-old race, I keep saying 2-year-old, sorry, but if you nominate for that 3-year-old race and that 4-year-old maiden, say, the 3-year-old doesn't stand up, you then you're still getting for the half points. Is that how it works?
Correct.
Right.
As long as it's the same
No,
race.
no, I know you might say that, but yeah, it's like if the race isn't going to stand up, you nominate. I wanted to make sure that if you freshly nominated...
If you've nominated for that race meeting in a 2-year-old, 3-year-old race and you end up in another race, at that same meeting, you're racing for half points.
I think I've gone too far. Well, not too far. I think I've missed a couple here.
4 and older horses quickly find their own level, providing they weren't above average juveniles. Yes, they do. And there is a water level. And Scott, you're 100% right, Scott. There is a water level that horses will reach. They'll peak at that, and then they'll slowly decline. Generally, unless you're Bulletproof Boy and you just keep getting better, is incredible. There's always anomalies. But yeah, there is a water level they'll find. And what this will do, Scott, which I think you agree, horses should race earlier as 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, and they should win more races before they get to that natural level that you're talking about. And hopefully, Scott, that increases returns. Actually, hopefully we're talking about this as my ultimate bit of work. See what I did? My ultimate bit of work.
What happened to restricted races, Jamie?
Give me something.
We're trying to be sensible here. What happened to restricted races? Horse population, Jamie. We don't have them. So they used to be there. We need punting turnover. So
what is that? Everything's incredible. I'm going to listen. I'm going to go back through it.
I got no idea. That's your own fan club. 2019 NR. On 2009.
2009, the NR system was introduced. Correct. And here's a stat for you. Who was the last driver to win a class-based race?
No idea.
You're sort of related to her.
Grano. No, Kez.
Kerry Manning. Oh. Who was the first driver to win a class-based race?
Kez.
No, Peter Manning. Oh. So in 1990, the class system came in, and in 2019, it went out.
How many changes and concessions have now been applied, implemented? That's question one.
So, Darren, this group, the HRRC, will meet every 3 months. We're going to monitor it very closely. But the overwhelming feedback from all the ratings roadshows, we're trying to address here with a balance that we get things as close as we can to right. Now, every sport in the world is changing their rules all the time, right? So we're just trying to make this as good as we can for everybody. Darren,
I'll actually agree with Toby on that one too, and I think it's one thing we need to do, because I watch F1s, they've introduced sprint racing. It doesn't matter what you do, you have to change and evolve. No, you can't, because there's a big question before you get to Darren. How can we be confident that in 6, 9, 12 months? Yep, so that will be addressed. Ooh.
Darren, I can answer that, Darren, but
don't you touch it. Oh, yeah.
I don't have the answer in front of me. I don't have the state break. I do, but not in front of me. I can get that to you, Darren, though. I'll send it to you. How many horses under 55 in Queensland?
The two Darrens are fighting each other for questions.
That was my next question. I will get to that.
Will the Harvey system keep up with the changes?
Yes, Zeke. So they're working on it, Zeke. They are. Rise are working on it. This has been progressing over the last 18 months. So some things I've done easily, and some are quite simple. The others around balloting and moving, etc., are quite difficult, but I'm reliably assured that it's going to be right by January 1.
I had something buzzing and I don't know what it was.
It was my phone.
And your phone's over there on the thing.
That's what was buzzing.
You can't, it's on the couch. But anyway, right. What participants on the review committee?
There's no participants, so there's a member from each state controlling body, and there's 2 from the club. So HRA is composed of the 6 states and the 5 principal clubs, being Albion. So in Queensland, Darren, it's Albion Park and Queensland Racing.
Turns out you go longer than that on Twitter too. Lindsay Harper, the fact that you're going to revise the national rating system every 3 months, does that mean you concede that the national rating system is flawed?
I'm not sure where he's going.
No, I don't agree with that.
If he's talking about the class system, like, then people say, oh, but you had the drop backs. So I suppose that was flawed as well. Probably 5%. No, it'd be more than that.
Andrew T. Oz.
Harvey was named after Harvey who? Don't know, Dave. Do you know the answer to that?
Oh, seriously.
I don't know who the Harvey system was named after, but the Harvey system is a complex beast now, because it was harness racing was forward in building a system a long time ago. And unfortunately, technology has improved quickly.
Great discussion. As previously, industry, they had no voice. Positive changes, hopefully moving forward, which is what we want.
I did a lot of road shows, Scott. I don't know if you're at the Queensland one or any of the 8 in New South Wales or the 5 in Victoria or the multiple I did in Tasmania. And the WA have just transitioned, and Camden feel there was a need for me to go to WA to present it as it had just done. So I did a lot of road shows. There was a lot of consistent feedback that's been all put into the melting pot here. And I started this, Paul, and we might be able to finish on this. There's an 80-20 rule in life, and 80% will be happy, 20% won't be. We're never going to make everybody happy. Not every horse is going to benefit. And I still maintain if there's 10 races at a race meeting under any handicapping system, there'll be 10 winners. They'll be happy with the handicapping system. And everyone that lost that day probably won't be happy with the handicapping system.
That's exactly right, and it'll be that system. There's no trainers on the review committee, Darren. Is that correct?
No.
Right, and I'm not sure what Andrew's
But what Darren's point is, that committee is going to meet 4 times a year, Darren, and one of those is going to be, there are going to be trainers and industry participants invited to attend and present. This committee only got formed in July, and it's taken a few months to get the terms of reference completed and appropriate. So at one of the 4 meetings for the 12 months, Darren, participants are going to be invited to attend, present on the issues and straight from the horse's mouth. So there will be an opportunity to consider and take that feedback. And then 12 months later, we can come back and tell you how we've achieved or we've addressed what the issues that were presented was. Dave, is the plan.
Just hang on before you go anywhere, Dave Richards. You're well and truly to interrupt. It was named after Harvey Crossman. He asked the question, he knew the answer.
Harvey Crossman?
Former West Australian Minister administrator, sorry for the distractions. You're fine, mate. It's okay. It was just random that you brought it up. Hang on, we've got to go back because Damien Wilson put one in here. The good 3-year-olds that have won 6 or 8 races shouldn't have to race against free-for-allers. This way they won't, because it'll only be gone.
So Damien's right, and that's a lot of the feedback we've had, and that's why we're halving points for 3-year-olds. That's one of the. And remember, I was talking about it wasn't the top 3-year-olds, it wasn't the hesitates of the world that are the issue. They're winning a lot of money at the ratings road shows. The feedback was around that middle of the run, better than average 3-year-old.
Damien and Laura got quite a few of them.
Yes, they do. Yeah, and they're all
good horses.
Werner's breed they all end up about a 70 to 80 at the end of their 3-year-old year, and they're just a bit too high. So those 70 or 80s by taking half points in 3-year-old races, Damien, should come back as like a 60 rater, right? So your point is 100%. That's what we've been told, and that's what the HRRC is trying to address.
Should every state...
Thank you, Dave. I don't know Dave. I'm not aware that I know Dave, but...
Should every state have the same programming? Keep on the straight and narrow.
No, not every state can have the same programming. And the reason for that is, think about Queensland, right? Redcliffe and Albion Park, you have to program so differently there because every horse can go to every race meeting, in a way, right? Compared to New South Wales, where you've got a regional-based model, you can't, like, Wagga to Tamworth's a long way compared to Redcliffe to Albion Park. So New South Wales have to program very differently to Queensland. Yep. Victoria have the challenge of trotting races.
Yep.
So when you program in Victoria, you think there's 40 different paces races, 40 different trotting races. So Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria have to program very differently. Tasmania's different again. There's 3 regions in Tasmania, and when you're from the mainland, you don't understand it till you really get involved down there, and some of the Tasmanians will have a chuckle at this. So programming in Tasmania is very different because they've got North and South Island. South Australia is different again. They have their ratings-based concessions, and then WA's just come into it. So I get your point. Should every state have the same program? No, because there's so many different factors to consider into it.
90% are not happy, Darren Garrard. Coming to Queensland tomorrow, Darren. That's why we're going to stop this show shortly because I've got to go. But I might try and catch up
10
with you.
10 races at a meeting. Sorry, Andrew. Yes, 8 there.
Okay, you've got that one. I don't understand why a horse that runs second or third should be handicapped. And unfortunately, I'm in agreement with him. But we've already discussed that one. John, watch back and you'll be able to see. But I tend to agree. Concessions. Oh, Jesus, Michael. How many red wines have you had? No one including...
So I think Michael's point is that 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds shouldn't be given concessions. But when you think about a horse's journey, and I think about it as a bank account, it starts at 0 and you pay a service fee and you're negative 15. Whatever,
I've missed the start of this. I was reading. So
when you think about a horse being a bank account, it starts at 0. There's a service fee. It goes to negative 15. There's adjustment. There's braking. There's all of this stuff, right? Now, it might be negative 30. It might be negative 40. It might be negative 50. Whatever it is, at that point when it has its first race start, it's at the most negative it will ever be in its career, we hope, unless you've got vet bills and etc. But people will get my point, right? So at that point of a horse's life, we need it to win races, get bonuses, and get back some of that negative money to as close to square or above as we can. So when you think about the older horses, why do younger horses deserve some concessions? Those younger horses are in the most negative point of their bank account. That's how I think about it in my mind. Now, other people might think about it differently, but that's why people are so passionate in the industry. And they mightn't describe it like this, but this is how I do it. That's why they're so passionate about giving better opportunities to 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. And similarly, if you buy a horse from the sales, that's when it's at the most negative. You might have spent $50,000 or $100,000 on that horse. That's when it's at its most negative, and that's why we want to get as many of those horses winning as many of those races as possible. And that's why I present those stats on how many 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds are winning under the national rating system. And I won't apologise for it. We want as many as possible of those horses eating into that negative bank balance and getting back to as close to square as we possibly can.
I think the community might be more approachable and accept feedback. Andrew Towers, just Google hesitate, you'll be able to go there. John Robinson, because the horse population NAR is dropping. to try and
People
put
are
you.
answering them on my behalf. Thanks,
Having
Ty.
points for every win doesn't work. Andrew Towers, some nag. They're answering their own questions. Who's Mick Harvey? Hello to Mick Harvey. Hopefully you're watching. I hope you're right, Tumby.
I had a beer with Mick Harvey after
Concentrate.
Kingman won the.
There we go. Now he owns Kingman. Mick Harvey's getting a fair run right at the minute. Correct reinvestment. So it's a 2 and 3 year old race themselves. They should have no. Whoa, where'd that go?
Helen agrees with my
explanation.
bank account.
What's the difference between a 2-year-old maiden and a 6-year-old maiden? And the age is in between. We have.
That's a state-based.
Yep, that's all different. Right, we're going to call it quits. I reckon we can keep going. This will continue going for a long time. The questions will be there. If they're relevant, Toby will get back to them again. Still, please be respectful. That's the one thing I do ask in this field. I think we need people to be respectful. I've fired quite a few at Toby. There's a lot of questions I could ask HRA, but this is about the new class system and how it will work.
Handicapping
system. Sorry, my
It's
bad.
not quite new, but we've made some changes, yes.
I need to find out what's going off. There's something going to explode, and I don't think it's your phone, but anyway.
No, I reckon the phone's going to be pretty red
Well, it
hot on the
probably
way out.
has, but mine hasn't, so it's okay. But anyway, and go from there. What does that one say very quickly? You get the same.
Yeah, well, you won't in the future, Josh.
No.
We're going to pull up on them. Remember, you
Good
said you'll
discussion,
stop it.
Pauls. Yep. Well, I'm going to end on the. I was going to end on the end one. Hopefully, it gets fixed, but until it happens, most good horses will be sold to America. Yep, we're trying to stop that as well. We want to keep it here as well.
Part of what we're trying to do, Paul.
Right, we're going to call it quits. I seriously have to go to Queensland. Darren Garrett, I might give you a call, see if we can catch up. We have a chat quarterly and go from there as well. Give people their voice. I'm happy
Paul,
with that.
thank you for your time. I know you've been busy, so thank you for...
The voice and stuff for other
yeah.
reasons too, but that's okay.
Thank you for having us. There's going to be more opportunities to discuss this, so I'm open to present this in other ways. So I think Gareth Hall is going to have me on SEN.
I just had to throw that one in.
He's going to have me on SEN Track. If people are doing podcasts and want to talk about it on podcasts, I'm happy to come on and discuss it and present the HRRC decisions. Most people know my number. If you've got my number, you're welcome to give me a ring. And if you want me to sign your record and you've got a M&M CD, I can sign your record.
I don't know what's going on there.
Come on, Luke.
Anyway, Luke, in our system. Okay, rightio, that's it. We're done. Where we go? We're going with this one. Topes, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
I'll see everyone. I don't know if On Loose Lines will be on tomorrow night. I don't think so the way I'm going, but that's okay. Thank you very much. And please keep your comments quarterly. But Toby will be looking at them for the next few days. Thank you very much, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, Tobes. Hopefully you come back and use this platform a bit more. We will have a breeding discussion one day.
Yep, happy to do it. I've done a big piece of work on trotting breeding in particular. Love to do it.
Very, very important. Right, mate.
Love to do it.
Thank you.